Oh, Bandit Canyon Deathmatch. This will be interesting. Never actually seen one of these. Alright. So, we've got a... Oh. I thought they were going to play a deathmatch one. Alright, so we've got a Bandit Canyon game here on Supremacy between FF and Grungy for their 5th game of the day. After this, I might be taking a break, I think. My voice is getting a bit sore. So, we've got a Persia, blue trunks, versus a Celts, red trunks. So, Pickers gloves here for both players. Oh no, not for Grungy just yet. Going for the hunt. Maybe hunting dogs. Yep. So Grungy going to have a gathering advantage after an initial resource investment. We'll be able to just rely on this nice Celt food eco requirement. I don't think he's going to bother getting pickers as well, considering he's going to need 3 houses to actually get the Bronze Age. So going to even sending some more villagers to gather food from up here for now. Quite smart play from him. FF's not going to take a hunt just yet. So I don't know what Grungy's looking to do right here, but he's sending down a villager for low ground barracks. Actually, he's going for even more villagers on the low ground food, so is he going to go for a spear rush? Getting the houses now, but they're going to be a little bit delayed for his age up. Grungy hasn't really sussed out FF, but FF's coming to suss him out. I don't know why he's putting a storehouse there. It's a bit of a weird spot. Oh, I suppose he wants to just keep the villager there, but keep it gathering. They probably could have just put a storehouse there and gathered from both of those, as he saw fit. The Spearman Stream. Well, that's going to be nice and safe for FF right now. Though his woodline won't be. Grundy didn't really see the woodline at all there. He's going to spot the second town centre. So the wrong side of the map for the spear rush. But there is a little bit of value to be ascertained here. And you can always wrap around and pressure this once you get some more spears, or deny over here. But Berry's eco really hurting FF relative to Grungy, who's had that hunt eco, and the fact that he's got all this military, giving him that nice score buffer. Doesn't really mean a huge amount yet, considering Ville counts are 19 to 19, and FF's actually got the second town centre out way faster. But Grungy's going to be able to throw down a second production facility and the town centre right now. Add shitloads of military from here. Celts is very spammy in Age 2, or they can be for sure. There's a lot of spears out, but Grungy hasn't really converted anything with them. Well, converted them into anything, sorry, I should say. So 25 Vills, 22. A10 coming out now for FF as well. He hasn't got Loom just yet, but he might want to throw that in soon. This is great for Grungy because FF's going to want to expand onto them soon. Picker's coming out for Grungy now as well. I don't think he really needs it at this point. Because, I mean, he's still got another hunt over the back here. And he can always try and pinch one of these off FF. So Bowman being added in for FF, but he needs to get some form of melee here. Right now he probably wants to add a barracks just to have Sparrow versus Spearman with Bowman support. Because if he adds Asabara, they're just going to die to the Spearman. Another barracks coming out for Grungy right now. We've been very good at controlling the map right now. It's a nice number of spears. No champion upgrade for them. They're not going to be able to get any value. I think FF's already going for an Age 3. And Grungy's gone to the wrong side once again. But maybe he's just trying to get around. The Bowmen are not able to catch. How fast are they? 6 versus 7. They're slightly slower. Grungy not actually able to get any value out of that run by. FF hasn't finished this house. He's been good at doing that this series. The Spearmen are going to engage the Bowmen head on while they've got favourable numbers, but Grungy's going to have to back out once again. And now Long Swordsman coming out. These guys just have that little bit more health as well, that they're not quite so bad against the Bowmen. I mean, losing them to the Bowmen is even worse because they're more expensive. But they're not going to die straight away. So Grungy might even be able to make another infantry push here, because FF really cut Bowman production to squeeze out that Age 3. Try and get a third town centre somewhere. This isn't great. He's got a lot of idlers there. They're all going to have to run. The Bowmen are here to back them up. These spears are all going to drop really quickly now. So Grungy getting his own Age 3. And he's going to be able to add Woad Raiders to deal with the Bowmen. But there's going to be an Immortal Camp transition here for FF. Mr. Cheap Rugs versus Mr. Fat Man. So third town centre. FF and Easy on the low ground. There's going to be Woads coming into his base from every direction, I think. Grungy can even look at... he is going to look at adding Furor Celtica straight away, just to make the Woads even more annoying to deal with. And if he adds Combined Arms on top of this when he can eventually afford it, it's going to be very hard for the Roman player to... for the Persian player to really catch the Celt player. In saying that, if he does, Immortals is going to be able to beat longswordsman without champion and beat word raiders pretty handily. Actually quite an expensive unit. 100 resources apiece. There's a lot of woads being built here by Grungy at the moment. 50 vills to 55. And third town centre for FF is down slightly faster. Actually a little bit faster considering it's not even on the way yet for Grungy. It's overgathered a bit on stone. Needs a bit more wood. Unless he's going to try and put down fortresses somewhere. But unfortunate for FF, he probably should cancel that watch post now. FF's base layout is really quite nice for this map. Grungy having taken the healing tech for his scout, so it's going to slowly regen. So he can take more aggressive outposts around the map before he loses it. FF should really cancel that, get that little bit of wood that he needs to get his immortal army going. These couple of bowmen. They get picked off. Don't know what they were really doing out there. And heavy immortal can be pretty tight unless they get engaged upon by the bowmen at a range, but they can't actually attack back, I think. Considering the bowmen do outrange them slightly, and there is going to be melee support for the Celt, but this is also a perk of the Immortals, having that bit of range damage. The range damage is not as good as their melee, but it is still quite solid. And these guys do count as infantry for either attack. For when they're attacked, and when they attack in their melee stance, obviously their range damage does count as range damage. Throwing axeman damage counts as infantry damage, even though it is ranged. So FF going to look at pushing up with about 20 immortals. A little pocket of 10 over here. Try and protect this, which is just as well because Grungy obviously looking to harass it right now. But it's a great immortal count to be able to deal with this, I think. The bowmen, if they get focused by the town centre, it's really going to put the Celt player on the back foot here. These storehouses being cleaned up are of no consequence considering Grungy has already gathered all the resources for him. And Wallzilla at it again. Wall Immortal. Quick, you've got another wall upgrade, FF. Take it. Can your Immortals get there in time? So Immortals don't benefit from the barracks infantry speed speed boost technologies, nor the train time ones, so this Celt army is going to be able to disengage quite easily against this, but it's going to take pretty heavy losses. And the woads nearly as expensive as the Immortals. All these villagers are going to have to garrison once again. The town centre really probably should be focusing down the bowmen, and so should the Immortals. It's a good pressure game here from Grungy, forcing FF to have to try and figure out some way to defend this. Probably needs to make some Asabara or some Takabara. Once again, FF's going to have to deal with Grungy harassing this side of his base again. This time, Town Center picking off a couple of bowmen. It's quite good for FF, but Grungy has plenty of units here still. It's 86 vills to 85. More units coming into support for Grungy, but FF's finished up the fortress now, and it's going to be able to really rain hell on the bowman. Like, it's even dealing that nice bit of splash damage that really just tickles all those low health one pop units. So Grungy now losing quite a bit against the army, and FF must have cleaned up this topside army once again. So Grungy reinforcing with Woad, Long Swordsman, Bowman once again. But the mass immo going to be pushing out, and this time they might actually get some value out of these gold mine gatherers. It's a hefty army here for Grungy, and FF needs way more houses. He needs to be very careful that he doesn't lose these villages. He's going to build some markets, but he really needs some houses. Here we go. Starting to pull ahead with the pop again. Oh, well, I mean, starting to catch up again in the pop. And he really just pulled ahead against his in terms of his bank. So the gold mine being struck this time. This will be a bit of a blow to Grungy, who's going to have to send back units to deal with this. He was trying to sort out augers and deer. Because you can gather from the deer quite quickly, as well as he'll always have a source of them for right sacrifices. But right now he's going to have to try and parade push himself. And maybe defend with what he's got here. So Grungy really committing, knowing that FF doesn't have all that much back at home. But these woads for FF, these immortals for FF are going to be of great value. Well, the Asabara really need to go in on the bowman. So Grungy's got quite a nice composition here. 89 vills to 85. The Keln army just can't seem to find the right angle to hit the Persian on. And lastly, Immortals are coming back home. But FF's already lost so much in the last minute or so that he really needs to back off and try and max out behind this. So Grungy really is rebounded in this game with this composition. Because FF's been a little bit impatient in terms of trying to re-engage and clear out the bowmen in his base. Just really needs to rely on the town centre focusing down individual bowmen and just try and hit them with the Asabara as soon as he can. Just keep the Immortals alive. Don't worry so much about killing the Celt infantry all that quickly. Worry about it once you've got the bowmen dealt with. Well, Grungy's been playing this really well with the control of his army. Now that's a lot of Asabara, and the Celt front line has started to slowly phase out. And Grungy's got his age 4 behind this, but FF is really set up for a nice age 3. But right at Damara kicking in, Grungy going to be able to maintain a lot of army production behind this, even adding in more spears. But they are going to get wrecked by Immortals. So I think Grungy's going to have to look at throwing down stables, and he's going to get stacks of those. Because Mixed Stables Comp himself should be able to deal with this and force the Persian to have to use war wagons and mounted archers himself. Maybe Takabara. So Grungy having taken that age 4, but FF's in a nice spot. And he's already got the market production, which Grungy hasn't started just yet. This outpost has given Grungy a huge amount of intel now. And these woads gonna pack a bit of a punch. So FF's gonna have to deal with that, and with the fact that there's a billion bowmen on his doorstep. Getting a second fortress just to guard this market line, and he probably needs to get some towers up here or a third fortress. But he is slowly chipping away at this gold mine for Grungy. He does manage to clean up down here. The fortress is going to finish up just in time, I think. So a little bit unlucky here for Grungy. But he waits this long to engage because the front line for him's not going to be able to survive underneath that. Even the bowman ball taking a couple of shots. Grungy probably needs to add a handful of druids. Maybe look at forting and sieging this side of the map, really putting the pressure on FF. But there's just not enough Asabara to deal with this, I don't think. I mean, just not enough. Yeah. Actually, there is only the 6 spearmen, so there might be just enough. Maybe some war wagons once again for FF. His age 4 is coming in hot, so he might be working towards just that. Horseman champion and some champions coming in for Grungy. Mortal champion here for the Persian. FF really needs to finish up whatever houses he hasn't got built. And deal with the fact that there's a woad raider chipping away at his bloody caravans. So Grungy able to eventually defend the gold mine. But he did lose the actual mine. So nice engagement here for FF. Really baiting Grungy under the fort to take a couple of shots. And without the druid there, he's slowly losing a lot of health on these bowmen. There's no mages, no aid tent for the Persian, no age 4 town center as well, so he's in a bit of a population decline. Probably should wait until he does finish that age 4 town center before he really commits to a fight here. Just sell 500 food or wood, buy 500 stone and throw down the town center, man. You really need it at this point. Oh, that Palantonon is a little bit caught up, but oh, the horsemen are actually going for the market, so if this Palantonon can get a couple of nice shots off, there we go. Handful of bowmen killed, but it's going to track the... Oh, falls a bit short there. So Grungy having to back out with the bulk of the army, but those horsemen make it through, and FF hasn't actually sent anything to clean this up yet, so his workshops are going to get punished, and so are his caravans. We need to replace a couple of those. Grungy having not added caravans in just yet. Mortals coming to clean this up, I think they'll be fine too. And this Palintonon, if it sits up there, it can actually really mess with this army. But now there's a druid in the mix, so it's going to stem the bleeding in Grungy's composition here. These horsemen don't have a fast unit out in the map that can really deal with them from the Persian player. The Palintonon needs to really focus the bowman. There we go, gets a couple of kills. But it's going to fall pretty quickly because it's got some champions attacking it. It's a lot of caravans, but there's a few horsemen really giving them the go for. That war wagon. Oh, it's not the war wagon attack, it's just the fortress attack up the hill. Grungy's got to be careful here that he doesn't lose too much, because I think he is a little bit down in terms of his bank. But FF doesn't have any units in production, which he really should do, because he's got... What is he doing? FF shouldn't take this fight. He really needs to produce a lot more units right now, rather than just relying on this force alone. There we go. He's got some more units in the queue, but so Andrasta coming out, and because FF and EZ hasn't been producing properly behind this, Grungy's going to be able to max back out and keep overwhelming him. Here we go. FF's actually producing a bit more units now. Don't know what happened there. He just had like a minute where he wasn't really producing anything, and it seemed like he was actually in a great spot to turn the game around completely there. But actually, he might still be. He's managed to trap Grungy's army in here, protecting his own caravans, because there's not a lot actually focusing on him just yet. The fortress is really being able to put a lot of pressure on this army. FF's actually managing to maintain a lot of unit production behind this. He's got tons of caravans. And so if the Asabara can get onto these bowmen, as well as the fortress damage, and the horsemen don't manage to connect with the Asabara too well, then I think Grungy could just bleed out more units than he really anticipates here. He hasn't actually started his market economy. He's slowly chipping his way through to FF's base. He's destroyed 2 layers of walls to get through so far. But FF really needs, I don't know, war wagons and spearmen maybe. And the villagers going through yet another wall. They're even going to be able to start putting proxy buildings and starting villager v villager fights, but right now Grungy's army is really being turned back by FF and EZ, just running in and fighting underneath these fortresses now. Like, bowmen fighting against fortresses is something you do not want to have happen. But the horsemen are going to be able to continue to pressure, and the villagers have found a way through, but FF's already managed to start walling everything back up again. So FF's done it. He's managed to wall out Grungy once again, and all these villagers are trapped. And Grungy hasn't really started on his market eco just yet. 81 to 80 villagers, so FF only just ahead in that regard at the moment. It's such a defensive game from FF. The Grungy just doesn't seem to have as much in the bank. Let's check out the upgrades. So Grungy still needs Age 4 Armory, but so does FF. But it's kicking in for him. It's kicking in for both of them. FF with the really heavy wall turtle. I think Grungy really having to commit to an Age 4, heavy Age 4 eco himself. We need to get irrigation out to make use of his farms as best he can. Really enticing FF to have to fight outside of this big turtle. A lot of the front line this time for FF just melting. There is going to be some more war wagons joining in the fray. Grungy's going to start fort creeping. It's going to have 4 market caravan production. All the way up to, he's got 83 vills, but FF's on 93 actually. This might be a bit hard to deal with for the Celt player because this War Wagon's going to deal crazy good damage to that range backline. The Carps fall, the Bowmen fall. These Immortals are going to be able to deal with the front line here. And Grungy, ooh, has Grungy got enough? FF once again struggling to produce enough stuff, even though he's actually got plenty in the bank to be able to do so. But he is winning this fight once again against Grungy. And the Fortress isn't going to be all that great against Immortals, who are just going to be able to melee it down pretty quickly. And so while Grungy's not got the units to deal with this, the Fortress falls for free. FF really just needs to make a handful of Spearmen or something. And really he can just push from here, I think. And add even more Immortals. Getting conditioning, so he is going to add the barracks. We're getting Spara champion, not Spear champ, which I find a little bit interesting. And he could queue these upgrades across 2 buildings, but I suppose he wants to just cram out as many units as possible. But really, I think the upgrade timings this late in the game is probably more important. But Grungy having to back off, doesn't have a lot of static defense. His caravans are safe. But I don't think his market line is going to be as good as FF and Easy's. He's going to lose a lot of production right now. Grungy needs to find something. But there's nothing for him to actually raid out in the map to really, you know, punish FF and Easy with at the moment. He's just got to be patient with what little he's got and just try and take the best fight he can. But he's got very little in the bank. Like, all he can really do is just sell a bit of wood and stone just to get, I don't know, some more woads or some champions and just try and take the fight. But FF really punishing him right now. So here we go. This may be it. Grungy doesn't have the houses to actually be able to keep producing shit behind this. And FF's maxed out. He's even getting all of his market tax. This may be the GG from here. Grungy not able to make it inside FF space at this point. And he's still got plenty of gatherers. He's at 92 vills to FF's 95. But he needs houses desperately. But all these vills might get caught out. They are going to get caught out. Some of them anyway. That's a lot of sacred deer falling. All these villages, there's like 10 villages there. And this army from FF's just going to be relentless. Look at his bank right now. He can actually afford to just start playing off like 60 villa eco and just pump up his army size at this point because Grungy has so little in the bank compared to him. So Grungy, last ditch effort, replacing town centers, and he's going to need to try and get this market line up and running ASAP. Ooh, one of these caravans is going to fall for free, and they're not cheap these days. Grungy's base is just fragmented. He's running village units up the hill, but they're just not able to mount a successful fight. So even getting Magus upgrade I don't think he's even got any Maguses, has he? Crazy man. GG is called. After 34 minutes. What a game.